And you see a last-minute change out to this deck. For Ketter, he prints his out, so when there's a last-minute change on his, you see. Originally, he was playing a Magmatic Insight and Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker. They scratched those two at the last minute for the copies of Chandra Flamecaller in the deck.
Chandra, a pretty significant upgrade to Sarkhan in terms of the impact that they have on a game of Magic in play. Obviously, paying one more mana for that, you should expect that. And then cutting the Magmatic Insight also makes sense if we're going to add 6 mana spells.
Tom's on the play with Wooded Foothills. Now, we've seen Red-Black Dragons. We talked about it before, how it removes creatures in the early game and then hopes to go over the top with dragons. It's a strategy that we didn't like much against Eldrazi, even though Tom did take the match. But against this Jeskai Black build, this Mantis Rider Seeker of the Way deck, I have to think Tom's a favorite.
I believe that Tom is going to be heavily favored here. There's Jaces, there's Mantis Riders, there's Seeker of the Ways, plenty of stuff to use with that early removal. Keter does have Crackling Dooms and those Jeskai Charms to try to interact with Tom's big plays, but the Thopter Engineer and the Flamewake Phoenix are just going to shrug things like that off and keep chipping in. Eventually, one of Tom's big plays is going to stick as well. And Jeskai Charming a PN Kira and Lar, forget about it.
Yeah, not. Don't really want to do that with those enters the battlefield cards. Jeskai Charm, we saw that last round with Andrew Tenjin, a great card when he was ahead on the board. We'll see whether or not Kent can get there. End step, he will go ahead and evolve his land into a Plains. Looks like he does have a turn 2 Jace available to him. One of his main deck copies of Dispel in hand as well. So that's the trick here, is does he want to wait till he has Dispel up before playing Jace? How much does he need it?
In the early game, it's really tough to expect that much for your 2-drop to try to defend it like that. You really just have to play to another Jace or another creature. If you're just doing nothing and building up to Dispel, you're letting the Red-Black Dragons deck play until the turns when it starts making its high impact plays of its own. So if you're waiting to defend a Jace and it's on the same turn that Tom is playing a Thunderbreak Regent, I don't believe you're ahead in this game.
All right, so Ken does go for the turn 2 Jace, and immediately Tom shoots it down with a Fiery Impulse as he searches up another Smoldering Marsh. So board is clear for turn 3. So we look back to Tom Ross. It's Bloodstained Mire. Looks like he'll be going for a 3-drop. Thopter, Engineer, and Flamewake Phoenix are his options.
Yeah, I know he at least has the Engineer. Don't know if he has a Phoenix in hand.
And there's the Engineer, the 1/3 that could. We'll make a Thopter token. That token has haste. Kent goes down to 19.
The differences between Phoenix and Engineer on turn 3 are fairly marginal. The Phoenix attacks for more damage immediately, though Engineer into PN Kieran enables the Thopters created by PN Kieran to have haste.
So over 2 turns, it's 4 damage either way.
Right.
Yeah, I think the appeal of Thopter Engineer is that, say, against other Hordling Outburst decks, I would think this would be... If one player has Thopter's Engineers and the other one has Hordling Outbursts, I like Tom's side of it.
You can block Goblins. Another interesting interaction in Tom's deck, he is playing Hangerback Walker. So with Thopter Engineer, you can play it for 2 mana, use 1 more mana to make it a 2/2, so you save a mana on that, or you can just make it as a 2/2 or a 3/3 in the late game and attack immediately.
Well, it will be Reflector Mage for Ketter, bouncing that Thopter back off the battlefield.
And I mentioned Jeskai Charm not being great against Pia and Kieran. Reflector Mage probably doesn't want to bounce the Engineer.
Yeah, well, actually, Engineer just seems excellent against Reflector Mage. I mean, not only did Kent have to bounce a Thopter token, but he can't attack into the 1/3.
Yeah, both these creatures just kind of stare at each other. Getting rid of the token at least saves you the damage in the air, though. Tom very unlikely to not have a follow-up.
Yeah, players staring at each other should favor Tom Ross as he makes a turn 4 Thunderbreak Regent.
That one doesn't stare at anybody.
No, that one just... It's up in the air. Kent, even with his kill spells, you don't want a Jeskai Charm Thunderbreak Regents.
Feels bad.
He's just going to keep playing it.
I could use my Jeskai Charm to do 4 damage to you, or 3 damage to me.
Wandering Fumarole, the play for Kent. No plays, we pass back over to Tom Ross. Kent, heavy on lands, it looks like here.
And quite the follow-up for Ross here. And now the Thopter Engineer is not staring at anybody either.
Kolaghan the Storm's Fury is going to be dashed. Now remember that the creature's all getting +2/+0. Kolaghan triggers off each dragon, so that's a swing for 12. Kent chumps with the Reflector Mage. And the 1-2 punch we've seen out of the Red-Black Dragons deck ends the game immediately.
Yeah. This is
So
pretty much
impressive.
how I expected this match to play out. To be fair, Kent did draw a lot of lands, but I think that Tom's cards just match up very well.
So just impressive win there for Tom Ross. Up a game now on Ketter. We'll go ahead and look at the sideboards. We have not a matchup we've had yet on camera. We've seen both these decks, but not against each other. So looking at Kent's sideboard, he has 2 Disdainful Strokes, 3 Kozilek's Return, 2 Negates, 2 Roasts, 3 Self-Inflicted Wounds, and 3 Soulfire Grandmasters. I think the Disdainful Stroke is a clear inclusion, but do we like anything else?
The only other card that I'm looking at is Soulfire Grandmaster. The ability to gain life could matter a lot on these big Kolagon turns. If you're able to gain some life with the Jeskai Charm, that kind of helps you race. You at least can mitigate a Thunderbreak Regent with Soulfire Grandmaster and chaining some burn spells. Tom has a lot of answers for Grandmaster, though. You might just bring it in. You do have a lot of creatures already, so it's not like Tom's removal spells are just being turned on by the inclusion. Eventually something will stick, so having the extra creature is good. Potential life gain is good. I wouldn't be surprised to see that one, though mostly we're just excited about the strokes.
Yeah, on Tom Ross's side, I mean, his main deck looked very good there. Now, he does have some options. Cards like Kolagon's Command can give him extra value against True Drops. What else do we like here?
Self-Inflicted Wound kills most of the creatures in Ketter's deck. Doesn't deal with Jace, but it does deal damage. It's worth considering. The full 4 seems a bit aggressive, but we might see them all come in.
2 of them. If you draw 2 in a hand, one of them might be dead.
Yeah. Especially if that's the removal spell that you draw on your opener and Kent just leads on Jace, it feels pretty bad. Tom has those 4 Transgress the Mind. This is the first matchup where I'm not in love with them. We're looking at Mantis Rider, Reflector Mage, Goblin Dark Dwellers, and Dig Through Time. Just
sure.
Hey, there's enough hits. You know, he also has Chandra Flame Callers. We might see them come in. I don't necessarily love the full 4. I think that Tom just wants to put his cards on the table and force Kent to deal with them.
All right. Well, these players getting ready for Game 2. We're talking about the official shirt of the SCG Open Series. That is our Star City Games shirts. 50/50 cotton poly made in the United States. You too can look like Tom Ross.
Indeed. There he is again. Great model.
Sans leather jacket, though.
Right.
That one comes separately.
You got to show off the shirt. There are no Star City Games leather jackets yet. Probably
if there
never.
was one, Tom would be wearing them.
Yeah, you better believe it.
All right, find out more at starcitygames.com/apparel. I don't know, though. If there's a logo, I mean, he'd pull it off. I have faith that he'd pull it off.
Oh, yeah. Look at him.
Tom Ross looks like still figuring out sideboarding here.
Yeah, he might be thinking about specifically those Self-Inflicted Wounds and those Transgress the Minds. They are cards that have value in this matchup, though unclear that you want the full 4 copies of either.
Well, this is a deck where he could definitely be doing sideboarding on the fly right now.
Yeah, probably not a lot of experience in this matchup. And he's rethinking a card right here. He definitely does not have a cookie-cutter in-and-out plan.
It's interesting because you see the word name Jeskai Black, and you'd think, okay, it's a different selection of cards, but it's probably fundamentally the same deck. I don't actually think that's the case between this when you look at this and the Roanoke build of Jeskai Black.
Yeah, in particular, if you contrast this exactly with Todd Anderson's deck that has very few creatures. Yeah, obviously Mantis Rider is a huge difference. The Goblin Dark Dwellers are a huge difference, and Jeskai Charm doesn't look anything like the spells that Todd's playing.
No, I can't. I mean, I think in Todd's deck, he's evaluating every card as how good of a kill spell it is. So you look at Jeskai Charm and you say, okay, I guess this gets Gideon sometimes, and that's about it.
Yeah. That is a kill spell for the opponent, not for their creatures. We saw Andrew Tenjum use it to top deck a number of creatures in an earlier match, and it never looked great. He was just kind of buying time with it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it can be a hard removal spell. So, if they have a fetch land in response to their fetch land, you Jeskai Charm them. Mm-hmm. But even when you look at that, that's just, Obzon Charm does that on its own, for example.
And when you're not doing that, you get to just draw 2 cards.
Right. What I do like about Jeskai Charm is and I think you mentioned this, when you're ahead, it can be very punishing. Putting a creature on top of their deck that is worthless on the board is very powerful. But to be said, people don't play many worthless creatures in Standard right now. Most creatures they're just happy to redraw.
And previously, before this deck, we mostly saw if decks played Jeskai Charm at all, they played 1 or 2 copies. And that's the number that I like for such a situational card.
Yeah, we haven't seen 4 Jeskai Charm decks since Kevin Jones back when Khans of Tarkir first came out. Seeker of the Way, turn 2 for Kent Ketter. No response by Tom. No kill spell. Now remember, Ross was on 6 cards this game. So most of the time, I would not expect a card like Seeker of the Way to get to survive here.
Yep, the early pressure does beg for an answer.
Kent, some interesting decisions here. He had the option to play a turn 2/3 Mantis Rider. He instead goes for Jace.
What Kent might be thinking, and what I suspect somewhat of Tom, is there is the option that he only has 1 removal spell. If you only have 1, the Seeker is not the juiciest target. If there is a Mantis Rider, you will wish that you cast it on the Rider. The Jace is also arguably a better target than the Seeker.
So you play Jace over Mantis Rider because you want Mantis Rider to survive?
Yeah, you want to get your clock going.
Well, here's Self-Inflicted Wound. That one would have hit Seeker of the Way both ways. Kent will go to 17. Townsley, Haven of the Spirit Dragon. We've seen those in these Red-Black Dragons deck very solidly. I don't think we've seen one activated at all.
We've mostly seen this Red-Black Dragons deck just kill people, right?
Yeah,
just
it
haven't
either
had time.
Yeah, it just dies or just kills people.
It's nice value either way, though.
Yeah, in a 2-color deck, it's pretty free to play it, I would think.
Yeah, you have plenty of red-black sources.
So a fetch from Polluted Delta from Kent here to get an island. It'll be interesting to see if he wants to fetch that Wooded Foothills as well, whether he wants 4 or 5 cards in his graveyard for Jace.
Yeah.
It looks like he wants the Planeswalker, so he's going to go ahead and put a 4th card in the yard.
Probably feeling pretty good about the hand.
Well, essentially, you don't always want Jace to flip if you have no instance in your, for example, in your graveyard.
Yeah, not being able to minus it right away is something to consider. Mostly you try not to flip it if it means, it usually telegraphs that you want 2 loots.
And a draw from Kent. You see Soulfire Grandmaster has come in out of the sideboard.
Yeah, and it looks like there's just a bunch of spells in hand, and so the Jace is better flipping. He just wants to cast all of these.
He'll plus it immediately. The rest of his hand, Soulfire Grandmaster in play. He's going to hold up Disdainful Stroke.
I like it. Tom could pull ahead by landing a Thunderbreak Regent or a PN Kier in here, so leaving up Stroke is quite good, and then if you find a land in the second here, you'll be able to cast Mantis Rider and leave it up.
Well, no land for Tom. He'll play Flamewake Phoenix. Now, notably, he played it post-combat so that it could block Soulfire Grandmaster this turn.
Yeah, no reason to get too aggressive. Soulfire Grandmaster does have lifelink.
Kent will swing it.
Yep, plus in the Jace so that they won't trade.
Maybe you want to swing it then.
There's a good point. It won't actually be able to block. You do price Kent into plussing on the Phoenix, though at this point there's nothing that he can flash back, so you might just be leaving 2 points on the table with that post-combat Phoenix.
Tom hitting land number 4. He's now on par with Kent on lands. His deck needs it so much more, though. You see all these 4-drops. He'll try for starting with Pia and Kira and Nalar. That will be Disdainful Stroked.
Yep, and that turn Kent just didn't do anything with his mana despite having Mantis Rider, and he just really wanted to cast that Stroke.
An attack there by Flamewake Phoenix. It's a 0-2, so no damage dealt.
Yeah, the thing about Phoenix is that it must attack.
Here's Mantis Rider plus Soulfire Grandmaster in on Tom. He'll go to 9. Kent will gain 2. Jace continues to shrink down the Phoenix. Thopter Engineer, the draw for Tom. You see his hand has 2 Kolagons, a Thopter Engineer. A lot of his high end.
Yeah, no 5th land for the Kolagon, looks like.
Flamewake Phoenix will swing for 0. I believe he has Thunderbreak Regent. Now he's got to start being worried about this Jace that's getting dangerously close to 9.
Yes. In all likelihood, that Jeskai Charm in Kent's hand is going to be cast twice off of it, more than anything.
He's got Tom down to 9. No reason to try to mill him.
So much closer to dealing lethal damage than we are to milling.
Thunderbreak Regent is the play for Tom Ross.
So if Kent has a 6th land and the ability to cast Jeskai Charm twice, Tom is just dead here. Does not look to be the case, though.
So it looks like the play is going to be, I wonder if it's Mantis Rider? Yes, it's going to be 2nd Mantis Rider. I thought he made Jeskai Charm the Thunderbreak to the top of the deck here, actually, and then swing for 5. It would get rid of all of Tom's outs.
I think that your margins are pretty small here.
Well, no, if you put it on top, swing, you put Tom to 4.
He can't draw
he's going
anything
to
else.
He can't draw anything. You're locking out his draw.
Right.
You have a lethal burn in the yard.
Yeah.
This will probably win too.
Exactly. In Kent's position, I think more than anything, it's going to be hard to find a way to lose this game. I believe that you have identified his best line, though I don't think that he has a losing one.
It seems unlikely. Jace will +2 to target Thunderbreak Regent. Tom sends the 3 damage at Jace. And then he'll block Soulfire Grandmaster, so Tom goes down to 3. There isn't a source of life gain in Tom's deck, so this Jeskai Charm in Kent's hand should just be lethal.
Yep. Also is shy a second blocker for the 2 Mantis Riders, which are lethal as well.
Yeah, Flame Wake will swing. Kent will... And Jace will go to 4. As I say, Kent will go to 19.
Well, those are blockers, but the Jeskai Charm is still lethal.
All right, so we are even it up at one game apiece. Kent Ketter taking that one over Tom Ross. The thing about Red-Black Dragons is that when you're relying so much on your 4s and 5s as your power cards, right? Pian Kiron, Thunderbreak Regent, Kolagon. We saw Tom there stick on 3 lands for 1 turn. It just seems so punishing at that point. You know, he was just Flamewake Phoenix is hardly a card.
Right. The fact that it has to attack, the fact that you're in trouble against Jace. Actually, after watching that game, I am much colder on Transgress the Mind in this matchup. Most of the spells that can't use that matter there actually cost 2 mana. It was the Disdainful Stroke that was quite back-raking. It's the Jace, a number of 2 mana creatures. The Mantis Riders were, of course, good, but Tom's not short on removal to kill them. So maybe we just ignore the hand and just play on the board.
Kent's deck's a lot more aggressive than many of the Jeskai decks we see.
And that makes discard worth quite a bit less.
Yeah, when in really fast matchups, you need to be paying mana to trade with cards that your opponent paid mana for. When you're playing a discard spell, you're getting a lot of flexibility. You get options, but you are trading a 2 mana spell for a 0 mana spell because they never cast it.
Right.
So it's a non-board impacting play.
Yeah, and certainly if the choice is discard spell or removal spell, if I'm Tom, I'm picking removal spell every time.
Yeah, a lot of great removals you mentioned in his deck. Grasp of Darkness, Murderous Cut, Fiery Impulse, and Draconic Roar all available.
Yeah, and we have seen the Soulfire Grandmaster in play, so Kolagon's command seems really good here. Especially on the play. Kent says his turn 2 play is Soulfire Grandmaster, Seeker of the Way, Jace. Tom just playing Kolagon's command to kill it and make Kent discard a card. Makes it pretty easy to control what Kent's doing from there.
So starting next week, Star City Games will be hosting the Regional Championships. This is during the weekend of the Pro Tour. Now, we do Regional Championships twice a year. These will be the modern Regional Championships. This is the Season 1 Champs 2016. What does that mean? That means you can compete in your region to try to become Regional Championship. This happens all over the country, and we get a free playmat and a Scent of Aya token to the first 200 players. Now, you want to find the location nearest you. We have them all listed here and at and on our website. Now, it's not just that championship. This is also part of the SCG Tour. So that means if with a good finish, you'll get awarded SCG points. And if you finish top 8 in the tournament, you'll be qualified for our next invitational. So a lot going on this weekend in Modern. Come compete with the newest decks of the format with Oath of the Gatewatch. StarCityGames.com/regionals.
And if you like that Ascent of Aya playmat, which you should, it's gorgeous, then you want to go ahead and pre-register right away. Guarantee that you'll be able to pick one of those up.
Yeah, they only are in supply for the first 200. So on to game 3 here. Ross versus Ketter. This one, as we said before, this is for most likely for top 8.
These guys are no stranger to playoffs for a top 8.
The loser certainly is going to be out. The winner, not 100% in. I believe there is a chance that one player at X3 will miss on breakers. In 11th and 12th place, Tom Ross and Kent Ketter are close to that slot. But they're not in it right now. They would have to be jumped.
Tom Ross is one player that I would really just like a window into his mind. He's a very soft-spoken guy, but he's also very obviously very thoughtful. Thought a long time about this opening hand. I would just like to be able to pick his brain, you know? Because if you asked him about it, he'd probably say, I think it's good. And that'd be what he said.
Ketter keeping on 6. So we'll start once again with Tom on the play. See Ketter 6. Multiple Mantis Riders, multiple Jeskai Charms, 2 of each, and 2 more lands. So he will, I believe, have turn 3 Mantis Rider, turn 4 Mantis Rider, and 2 Jeskai Charms. Kind of a throwback Jeskai deck here, if you will. But will that be enough? Tom plays a second land and passes. You see he's at the ready with a card like Draconic Roar. He has a Fiery Impulse. That one won't deal with Mantis Rider immediately, but it has the potential to do that.
Handful of Mantis Riders, great way to start. Handful of Jeskai Charms, much less exciting.
Thopter Engineer is the play for Tom. He'll swing in for 1 with the Thopter. Kent looks like he's going to crack back with a Mantis Rider. He had 2 Wandering Fumaroles on the first 2 turns.
Yeah, nothing to do with the mana anyway, so that's actually pretty great for Kent.
We'll see. We know Tom has 1 removal spell in Draconic Core, and it looks like Kent's picked up a 3rd Mantis Rider.
The issue with Kent's hand is he's a very long way from a 2-spell turn.
Yeah, his hand doesn't afford him, it affords him very few options. I mean, he basically has to play a Mantis Rider every turn, then send them into the red zone. If Tom simply has a Thunderbreak Regent, this already becomes problematic.
Yeah. Kent's in a lot of trouble if that is the play for Tom.
I mean, he can Jeskai Charm them.
Sure can. Not...
Then we both take 3 and just do it again.
Yeah, not convinced that this is a great line. It's probably what you do.
Maybe. That's not a thrilling spot. It will be Draconic Roar, revealing Kolagon. Kent takes 3, make that 4-5 off the Thopter Engineer and its Thopter. Kent down to 13.
Good turn for Tom. Wonder if he has a Grasp of Darkness or anything up on this mana for a removal spell.
Well, let's see. It's another Mantis Rider, and no, it's going to connect. No Grasp, no second Draconic Roar.
All right.
Draw for Tom. Pia and Kiran Nalar. Remember, those artifacts they make, the Thopters will have haste because of Thopter Engineer, but not much help when Mantis Rider's on the board.
Right. Ooh, beat downs. I'm
I
intrigued.
like it. Well, he has Fiery Impulse in hand. I think that's what he's doing. And then, this is a cheeky play. The post-combat Pia and Kiran Nalar.
Oh, yeah. Well, can't play a pre-combat.
3rd Mantis Rider. They're going to swing. Does Tom chump? Does he take? If he takes it all, he'll go down to 7. Kent does have 2 Jeskai Charms.
Then he's 1 land off the top away from being able to cast both on the following turn.
Huge decision here for Tom Ross.
So Kent's at 11, so what Tom might be trying to piece together is whether or not he's able to kill Kent on his turn. He does have that Kolagon, but makes 1 chump anyway.
Chumps with 1 Thopter. Well, he doesn't have another dragon in play, so the pump, even if he had the land for Kolagon, is only +1. I think we're at +2. It would be a clear-cut scenario for him. These Thopters would all be 3/1s. They trade with Mantis Riders. Everything would be great.
Yeah, things are a couple shades shy of great here.
Tom Ross with a great opening hand, but he has stumbled on lands at what may have been just the wrong time. You see his hand. Flame Wake Phoenix, Kolagon the Storm's Fury, Fiery Impulse. Only 1 spell in the graveyard for Fiery Impulse.
Tom is not a spellmaster.
Red-black mages rarely are. A swing of just Thopter Engineer.
Yep, may as well make that attack. The token would be able to finish off, by using P and Kieran and a Thopter to be able to finish off a blocking Mantis Rider.
And he plays another Thopter Engineer. Both Mantis Riders swing. What will Tom looks like? We'll put a Thopter in front of each of them and then use Fiery Impulse to finish off a Mantis Rider.
Like that a lot from Tom.
I like it as well. Now, if Kent was, he could have Jeskai Charm pumped to save. But he said that's not how he wants to use them.
Kent did pick up a Goblin Dark Dwellers. Unfortunately, the land that he just played, the 6th land, is an Evolving Wilds. If that were not the case, if all of his mana were untapped, he could Charm, untap Dark Dwellers for lethal.
Right. But, it is a lot of burn here.
Even still, he's pretty dang close.
Tom needs to get to that Kolagon, and quickly. I think where he's at now is wondering whether or not if he plays a post-combat Phoenix and draws the land for Kolagon, is that enough to win on the next turn?
Yeah, Kent has a lot of mana up here. And a couple of cards in hand, so there's a lot for Tom to think about.
I mean, this matchup has been, I mean, it has felt like a red mirror. You know, it's burn flying back and forth. You can't play for the late game. So Tom will swing. Pierre and Kieran, both Thopter Engineer swing. Kent takes all 4 damage, goes to 6.
Yeah, there's no way that Tom can just deal 6 damage, so seems safe. Leaves the Thopter back to block the Mantis Rider.
At the moment, the Thopter can block, and then Tom can throw it at Kent. Those 2 Flamewake Phoenixes don't seem like they do much. And here's the post-combat blade from Tom. It's a second copy of Pierre and Kieran Nalar.
This is a good follow-up. Left the other Thopter up anyway, in case there's a removal spell or 2 removal spells. Also suggests to Kent that that's the line. Maybe entices him to block and force him to throw the Thopter.
Wow. All right. So Kent will go ahead and crack Evolving Wilds. He'll Jeskai Charm Tom down to 6. Now remember, you talked about Kent getting up to enough mana to cast more Jeskai Charms. Those are uncracked fetch lands he has on the board.
That's true. That would put him down to 4.
Pian Kieran shoots in increments of 2. Each point matters now.
Yeah, basically, Kent really wants a way to win this turn. Cracking this 1 fetch looks a lot like casting a Dark Dwellers here. And if that's the play, I don't know if that's good enough.
I mean, maybe we have to give our Mantis Rider lifelink and swing.
It's
I know
possible
that's not good.
The turn when Kent did not save the Mantis Rider with the Jeskai Charm.
I think he was supposed to do that here. If he dies with a Jeskai Charm in his hand, that's going to look like a turn he'll want back.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, there's the second fetch land, so it's possible Kent has picked up another 3-mana spell. We'll see what it is.
It's just 2 Jeskai Charms.
Yeah, he just has lethal, and he's just slow rolling.
Only has single white. Couldn't even do it. Would have had the option to fetch Rare Plains there, but declined. Looks like it's Crackling Doom.
Well, that looks pretty lethal to me. Only single white, though.
Did Kent just fetch incorrectly?
That looks like a Flooded Strand, and that looks like a basic island.
I'm checking here. Kent does play a basic Plains.
Well, the basic Plains is in play.
Oh, so the basic Plains is in play.
He has enough
basics. He has a Prairie Stream.
He has Plains Mountain. The Prairie Stream would be untapped. I think that Kent just threw away the game.
Oh, no, and he realizes it, too.
Yeah, the hand's Dark Dwellers, Crackling Doom, Jeskai Charm.
He could Doom... That's Crackling Doom plus Jeskai Charm is 6 points of burn.
Oh, no.
All right. He knows he missed it. Now the question is, can he salvage? Now he's got to think, all right, this is one of the hardest things to do, is when you know you've thrown away a game, just recovering and just forget about that and try to think, can I still win?
Well, he hasn't just put himself off of lethal. He's also put himself off of casting 2 spells on this turn.
So he's going to Jeskai Charm away the Pia and Kieran Nalar. He's just dead.
Yeah, those Thopter tokens are going to have haste. You have to hope that Tom doesn't see it.
And this is the hardest part. When you know you've done something that punted, right? You know you messed up. What you have to do is you have to recover and know that you can still win. And Kent makes a play that dies on board.
That has to sting if you're Ketter right now. Yeah, he is not happy with that.
And Tom, ever the polite competitor, but you saw the rare smirk from him, and I think he knows that he just stole one.
He just stole one.
And Kent coming back to it. Good with the congratulations. It's a tough one for Kent Ketter.
Yeah.
Tom Ross, 12-3. Fingers crossed. I believe he'll be in the top 8, but we'll confirm that one once we make our top 8 cut. Either all the X3s make or one misses, depending on what happened that round.
Yeah, and that's a high-pressure match. Maybe you just don't see things as small as having 2 white mana. He had a bunch of dual lands
I think
in play.
we've all made that mistake where you don't get the white mana. Now, what and it's such a hard skill to learn as a player, is at that point when you're Keter,